start of segment. So, what we are going to do in this session is that I am going to work through a problem, right, for you in trying to estimate all the flows, economic flows that are happening. Okay. So, if you see this problem, the way it's structured is that we have two regions, region 1 and region 2, and both these regions produce two kinds of uh, things, wheat and sugar, right. So, region 1 produces 10,000 kilos of wheat and 2,000 kilos of sugar, whereas region 2 produces 2,000 kilos of wheat and 6,000 kilos of sugar, and their total realization from that production is 10 rupees, which means 10,000 kilos, 10 rupees per kilo, totally 1 lakh rupees of wheat production. The total value of sale of the total value that they have produced, total value of production of wheat is about 1 lakh. Similarly, for sugar, it's 20,000 into 2,000 into 20 is 40,000 rupees. Like that, region 2 also has some production, right. And on the other hand, region 1 is consuming 8,000 kilos of wheat, and region 2 is consuming 4,000 kilos of wheat. And the price at which they are consuming it is 10 rupees and 15 rupees. Okay. Sugar consumption is 3,000, and like that 2,000 in region 1 and 2, and at prices 22 rupees and 18 rupees. Okay. This is what the data that is given us. Besides that, we know that region 1 clearly has some surplus which they are sending to region 2, and region 2 has some surplus which they are sending to region 1. So, the distance, so when they send this surplus from one region to another, they have to transport it. So, the distance between the two regions is 1,000 kilometers, and the cost of transporting 1 kilo for 1 kilometer is 0.002 rupees. Okay, that is what is given to us. Also, to produce something in the farm, it requires labor. So, the amount of labor days required to produce 1 kilo is 0.1, and the number of labor days required to transport something per kilometer per kilogram is a very small number, 0.00001. Okay. And the charge of labor, that is, if you take labor and convert number of days, per day you have to pay 100 rupees for labor. Okay. This is the data that has been given to us. Now, from this we want to calculate many things. One thing we want to calculate basically is how much wheat went from region 1 to 2 or from region 2 to region 1. Okay. So, one thing we notice basically is that if you take the wheat production, total wheat production, you see basically that the wheat production is 10,000 kilos in region 1, 2,000 kilos in region 2. So, the total wheat production is 12,000, 10,000 plus 2,000 is 12,000. So, I can write that. So, total wheat production is equal to 10,000 plus 2,000. Okay. So, that is 12,000. And the total, similarly, if I take the total wheat consumption, right, total consumption of wheat, this one is from here I can get it. This is equal to 8,000 consumed by region 1 plus 4,000 consumed by region 2. So, the total wheat consumption is, so there is no surplus wheat production. Wheat production is 12,000 kilos and wheat consumption is 12,000 kilos. So, there is no surplus. Okay. But clearly region 1, there is no surplus, but region 1 produced 10,000 kilos and consumed 8,000 kilos. So, region 1 has a 2,000 kilo surplus, whereas region 2 produced 2,000 and consumed 4,000. So, region 2 has a 2,000 deficit. So, where that deficit came from? That deficit was met by transportation from. So, wheat transported from region 1 to region 2. We can calculate, and this is equal to 10,000 minus 8,000, right? 2,000 kilos is the excess production, and because the production and consumption are all equal, therefore the excess production was completely transported to region 2 and that was consumed there. Okay, now let us look at the same thing for sugar, right? So, total sugar production is is equal to 2,000 plus 6,000, right? That is 8,000. Whereas the total sugar consumption is equal to 3,000 plus 2,000. So, that is 5,000. So, here we see there is an excess, right. So, excess production is 8,000 minus 5,000. So, only 5,000 was consumed, 3,000 was excess production. So, what did this excess production, what happened to this excess production? Presumably, this was stored, okay, stored. So, this was stored. So, it was not transported, it was stored. Now, again we can do the same thing, we can see that this sugar production is 6,000 here, consumption is 2,000 here. So, the difference between 6,000 and 2,000 is 4,000, but out of 4,000, 3,000 is stored, 1,000 is transported. Okay. So, sugar transported from region 2 to region 1, and this can be calculated by taking sugar consumption here and subtracting that from sugar production here, right. So, this difference is 1,000. So, this is the amount of sugar transported from region 2 to region 1. So, total sugar, basically if you look, the total sugar production was 8,000, of which 3,000 was stored, 5,000 was consumed, but the consumption pattern in the two regions was different. 1,000 kilos was transported from region 2 to region 1. Now, we can calculate from this the total cost of transportation. The total cost of transportation is 2,000 was transported over here. So, let me add up the two. 2,000 was transported from region 1 to region 2, 1,000 was transported from region 2 to region 1 multiplied by distance between the two places multiplied by cost to transport 1 kilometer per kilo, right. So, 6,000 rupees was spent on transportation cost between region 1 and region 2, this much we know. We can also calculate what is the total receipt by of producers. How much did producers receive in rupees? How do we calculate that? We say, okay, this is equal to this into this plus right. So, this is the amount they received for B3 into C3 is the amount for wheat, B4 into C4 is the amount for sugar for region 1, like that. 2,000 into 12 is for region 2 wheat and region 2 sugar. So, 2,72,000 rupees is the total receipt of producers. And what is the total amount that was consumed, spent by consumers? Similarly, I can calculate wheat consumption was this much in region 1, sugar consumption was this much in region 1, wheat consumption into 15 plus sugar consumption in region 2 into 18. So, this tells me that 2,42,000 rupees was spent by consumers. Of course, this difference between 2,72,000 and 2,42,000 rupees was spent the excess produce, right. So, I can write here excess produce is we know 3,000 was stored, 3,000 is all sugar, and it was all sugar produced over here at 18 rupees. Then finally, I need to calculate a few more things. What do I need to calculate? I have to calculate. So, we know basically that consumers spent totally so many rupees. So, if I can subtract this, right. So, this is net. So, this is minus this. So, 2,18,000 rupees is the net. This is the net amount basically. So, out of 2,72,000 rupees that the producers produced, 54,000 is kept in storage. It has not yet been realized in a sense, right. It is kept in inventory. It is kept in storage. 2,18,000 rupees was realized. Now, 2,42,000 rupees was spent by consumers. So, what is the difference between 2,42,000 and 2,18,000? So, there are two things that we have already calculated. One is transportation cost, we calculated, which I have written that transportation cost I have already calculated, the cost of transportation. So, there is one thing we have not yet calculated, which is trading costs or whatever, amount received by traders, people who do trading, right. How much did they get? So, the answer is the amount spent by consumers is 2,42,000. The amount that was actually not kept in storage, the amount that was sold is 2,18,000 minus 6,000 of this consumers amount went in transportation, 6,000. So, this is a surplus. So, the traders got 18,000 rupees, right. The traders got 18,000 rupees, transportation guys got 6,000 rupees, right. Trading companies got 18,000 rupees. Consumers spent 2,42,000, of which 2,18,000 went to the producers, 18,000 went to traders, and 6,000 went to transportation. How did the producer actually get 2,72,000? Because some storage company paid 54,000 rupees and bought the excess produce of the producer and kept it in storage. So, 54,000 went from storage company to producer, 2,42,000 rupees was spent from the consumers, right. Spent by consumers, 18,000 went to traders, 6,000 went to, out of that net of 2,42,000 minus 18 minus 6 is 2,18,000, out of that went to producers, 54,000 went from storage company. The add of these two things and you get 2,72,000. I hope that is clear, right. So, this is the flow, right. This represents all the flows. Now, let us look at the receipts, right. So, consumers receive money. How do they receive money? They get money, the people get money because they are doing labor. So, what is the amount received? Amount received by for labor for production, right. So, how much is that? So, we know basically that the total total production of wheat is 12,000, total production of sugar is 8,000. So, the total overall production is 12,000 plus 8,000 total production. Does not matter whether it is stored or not, that got produced, right. So that many kilos of things were produced, and to produce 1 kilo you need 0.1 units of labor. So I am multiplying that, and the cost of labor is 100 rupees per day. Okay. So this is the total cost of labor, and that was received by the people, right, in some sense, who worked on the thing. Similarly, amount received for transportation labor in rupees, we can calculate is how much was transported. We know that um, uh, 2000 kilos of sugar was transported. Um, so no, sorry, 2000 kilos of wheat was transported from region 1 to region 2. 1000 kilos of sugar was transported from region 2 to region 1. Total transportation is 3000 kilos. The labor required per kilo of transportation is this, and the cost of labor per day is this. So, per kilometer. So, I forgot to multiply by number of kilometers, okay, multiplied by number of kilometers, which is here, number of kilometers. Number of kilometers. So, if I do that, so 3000 rupees was received by transport. So, total amount consumers received, amount received by for labor, total amount received for labor. We are not calculating capital and all. Total amount for labor is therefore 2 lakh for production plus this for labor. So, 2 lakh and 3000 rupees received. So, in some sense the consumers the households, they received 2 lakh 3000 rupees for labor, for doing labor in the firms, either for transporting or for producing, but they spent 2 lakh 42,000 rupees. So, there is a net deficit of the households. Now, where did these households get this money from? They must have got it from their savings, or they must have taken it from their savings, or they must have got some other source of income. So, there is a deficit of 39,000 rupees, which means the households have spent 39,000 rupees more than that they have earned. They earned 2 lakh 3,000 rupees for the labor they did, and they spent 2 lakh 42,000 rupees. So, 39,000 rupees they got. So, this gives you a picture of all the flows, right. So, we see that region 1, region 2, we know the total producer made 2 lakh 72,000 rupees, which he got 54,000 he got from the storage company, 2 lakh 18,000 he got from consumers. How did he get 2 lakh 18 from consumers? Consumers actually spent 2 lakh 42,000 rupees, but of that 18,000 went to trader, 6,000 went to transporter, balance was 2 lakh 18,000 which they gave to producer. The amount of labor that was spent in actually production was 2 lakh, and for transportation was 3,000 rupees. So, total amount was 2 lakh and 3,000 rupees, and so there is a deficit of 39,000 rupees in the consumer's side, which presumably they took from their savings, or they got some other source of income which is not reflected here, something like that. Okay. So, this kind of picture, right, of calculating all the flows helps us to get a model, right. In some sense, it gives a model for understanding what is going on. Okay. This is the end of this segment. Okay. In this segment, we are trying to calculate, we have basically, we are trying to do a demand supply kind of a reconciliation. We saw that when we have supply and we have demand, these two things reach an equilibrium, right. So, in this case, what I have is, I have two customers. One customer has a monthly income of 20,000 rupees, customer 2 has a monthly income of 50,000 rupees, and there is a shopkeeper, and we have different price points. So, customer 1 is willing to buy wheat like this, 10, 8, 6, 6 like this for different prices, rice like this, what is given, this is a schedule for rice, this is a schedule for sugar. Customer 2 similarly, you can see, is willing to buy like this, wheat, rice and sugar, and shopkeeper is willing to willing to sell wheat rice. So one thing you can see basically is that shopkeeper is not willing to sell rice at 10 rupees or sugar at 10 rupees. In fact, he is not willing to sell sugar even at 20 rupees. Only at 25 rupees he is willing to sell sugar. On the other hand, you will see customer 2 is not willing to buy wheat at all if it is priced above 40 rupees, and customer 1 will not buy rice or sugar if it is priced above 45 rupees, 45 rupees or higher. Okay. So this is the kind of thing. So one thing we can do is that we can just take this as it is like this, and we can chart it. It will come out as a messy chart maybe, but we can do a chart, right? So so I can select this whole thing, and I can say insert a chart. So it automatically decided to make a line chart. So it's a very messy chart. As you can see, there are many lines. Of course, some of these you can remove. So let me start by maybe just showing wheat of customer 1 here. I'll remove this. I'll remove sugar also. So I've removed everything except wheat. Okay. So so you can see basically that so this blue line is wheat of customer 1, and this red line is wheat of customer 2, right. So you can see basically that wheat customer 2 is supposed to have higher income, but the curve for customer 2 for wheat is lower than the curve for customer 1 for wheat. So that means that wheat is an inferior good. We discussed this, right? Wheat is an inferior good. Even though the income has gone up, actually the demand has come down. And this is the supply. This is how the supply is going. Now, if there were no customer 2, there only customer 1, right? This is so blue and red are coinciding here. If both only customer 1 is there or only customer 2 is there, both the customers are not there, then the solution is going to be this point, right? This will be the equilibrium point. This is like 15 rupees wheat will be supplied at, and 7.5 kilos roughly of wheat will be sold in the market. If only one customer is there. But because both customers are there, we got to add these two things. We got to add the wheat of customer 1 and customer 2. Right now we don't have, in this chart we didn't have addition. So maybe that's what I should have done first, right? So let me just delete this chart. Let me delete this chart, and let me add one more thing here. Call it total demand. Total demand. All right. Now the total demand for wheat, wheat at this price point is obtained by taking the wheat of customer 1 and adding it to it the wheat of customer 2. So the demand of customer 1 and 2 together gives you the demand for wheat, and clearly I can add like this. I can do this. It should give me the total demand, and if I do like this, this is saying C3 plus F3, C3 plus F3. So I can also do it like this, right? So I can pull it this way also. That also should work, and I should pull it down. That also should work. So I have got the total demand for wheat, rice, and sugar over here. And what I want to do now is maybe I will plot this whole thing. Let me insert a chart and take out what I don't need, right? This time I'll do rice just for a change. We did wheat last time. Let me do rice. So let me remove wheat and sugar. Wheat and sugar. Rice. fact, I need, oh, sorry, what I didn't do. What I should have done is rename this. Let's call it total, right? So T, let's call this T. This is a total demand, and this is sugar total demand. Now, let me insert this chart. Okay, and then we want to remove. I'll remove only. I'll keep the total demand. I'll remove everything else. I think. Let me remove wheat, rice, sugar of C1, wheat, rice, sugar of C2, and keep only rice sales and rice total demand. Okay, so I have only the rice sales. This is the rice sales. This is the seller, what seller's response to rice, and this is the total demand for rice. So you can see here that they are crossing over here. So roughly around 20 odd rupees, between 20 and 30 rupees somewhere is where the equilibrium is forming. And about 12, roughly about 12 kilos or something of rice is getting sold. Like this, what you can do is you can form pictures, right? You can form the aggregate demand of the thing, and you can calculate using the aggregate demand and the sales chart for wheat, rice and sugar. You can find out what the equilibrium point is, and then determine how much price, at what price, what quantity will get sold, right? So this exercise you can carry out on your own. All right, so this ends this segment.